And on this episode of Mere Mortals, we're going to talk about wheels. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about wheels. Now, behind me, I have HRE Flowform wheels. I'm going to be doing a review and talking a little bit about the buying process when you're purchasing these specific wheels. I'm also going to be taking a look at, just in general, what you should do when you're getting aftermarket wheels, understanding the numbers, the size, fitment, all of those things. So with that, let's go ahead and get into this. So these are the wheels I went with. Here are the specs for my Audi S3. It's a 2024 8Y platform if you're looking for yourself. Let's open up the box and see what we have inside. If you're new to buying wheels, there's a few things you need to keep in mind before you just go out and buy some new aftermarkets for your ride. Number one is the actual rim size. Now, you can fluctuate in rim size depending on your vehicle, but if you go too large, you may have rubbing issues. If you go too small, you're gonna have other issues the other way. So, keep in mind that changing rim size drastically is going to have other effects with either in the form of suspension mods or spacers. So these are all things to kind of keep in mind. Now, admittedly, this is the second pair of aftermarket wheels I've purchased. I did a video on my Jetta when I purchased New Speed RSE 10s. And I was fortunate enough when I found those wheels, they matched my factory wheels in size, bolt pattern, center bore, everything perfectly. It was just a plug and play, really easy match. This time around, I had a little bit more complications when I purchased these. I'm going to talk about some of that supporting hardware and what you need to keep in mind when you purchase your wheels. When I went to buy my HRE wheels, I thought it would be a fairly easy process, just like my New Speed. I thought this should be easy. Just like last time, I'd hop on the interwebs, check out a few Instagram pages, a Facebook group or two, and get some inspiration. And once I'd found the wheels I wanted, I'd just log on to an aftermarket retail website and just order the wheels and have them show up at my door. What I learned about HRE wheels, though, this is not an option. You see, HRE does not sell direct to the consumer. All of their wheels must be purchased through a verified dealer. All right, no problem. I just head over to the nearest dealer and check out some wheels. Not so fast. In my state, there was only one verified dealer for the whole state, and they were 2.5 hours away. Further adding to some confusion, the dealer that I ended up going with, they were a car detailer. You know what? Let's try it. So I reached out, and I'm glad I did because for all the apprehension, they ended up being fantastic to work with. I sent them over 20 emails back and forth asking about fitment, different products, finish, getting their opinion on different colors. It was really nice having somebody to ask some of those questions to. All right, let's take a quick look at what I got. These are HRE Flowform wheels. Specifically, they're the F11. They are a 19-inch rim, and the bolt pattern is 5 by 112. What that means is there's 5 bolts to hold the wheel to the hub. And the 112, if you drew a circle through the center of each of those bolts, that circle would be 112 millimeters in diameter. The center bore, or the center hole, is 66.56 millimeters in diameter. Now this is where things don't match up. This hole is slightly bigger. On my car, it needs a wheel with a center bore of 57.1. So in order to get around that, the dealer sent me over some rings that I can put on the back of the rim, and this will match everything up to what my car currently is. So from the side, the rim is 8.5 inches wide. Here's a quick chart just to show what tire sizes fit an 8.5 inch rim. Let's take a moment and explain offset for these wheels. In my case, these wheels have an offset of a plus 47. Offset is determined by the center line of the wheel. If the hub is closer to the face of the wheel, that's a positive offset. If the hub is closer to the back of the wheel, that's a negative offset. How does this apply? Well, if the hub is closer to the face of your wheel, then your wheels will be tucked deeper into the fender, and vice versa. If the hub is deeper into the rim, then the wheel will sit further out and be more flush with your fenders. If you calculate the inset right, you don't need spacers at all. But unfortunately for these wheels, they only came in this inset, so I still will need some aftermarket spacers to make things fit. And on the next topic, we're gonna talk a little bit about sprung versus unsprung weight. You see, wheels are not just aesthetics, there's also a performance component to it, which is how I convinced my wife to let me get wheels. To explain sprung versus unsprung weight, I'm gonna use an analogy. If I run a 100-meter dash carrying a 10-pound weight on my chest or on my back, I could run pretty fast. If I took that weight and broke it into two and put the 5 pounds on the bottom of each of my shoes and ran that same 100-meter dash, I'm going to run a lot slower, because it will be a lot harder to pick my feet up and move them forward. If you think of your wheels as the feet for your car, it's a moving component. It's what your engine is actually spinning that's transferring the engine power to the ground. Now, for every 1 pound I can remove out of unsprung weight or a moving component like the wheels and parts of the suspension, it's the equivalent of removing 4 pounds of weight out of, say, the trunk of your car or the cabin of your car. Removing weight from the wheels actually can have a big impact on the performance of your car. So I'm excited to see how this will go with the new car, because I'm going to be able to shed almost 6 pounds per wheel. And, you know, times that by 4 and then by 4 again, and you're gonna end up at about 96-pound reduction. All right, today's the big day. I'm taking my wheels over to get tires mounted on them. All right, let's do a little comparison. Here are the stock wheels, and these are the new Flowform wheels. In my humble opinion, these are much better than the stock wheels. So in this next video, I'm gonna take a little bit of footage from the front and from the sides. I wanna get a sense of how the fitment is. So as I was talking earlier about offset, these new wheels actually sit pretty flush with the fender. The fronts are about perfect. The backs are tucked in just a little bit, but as you can see with these splash guards, it's almost better to have the tire tucked in just a little bit more, because even with my stock wheels and my 15mm spacers, I think they were just a little too pushed out. And with this, it's kind of a nice surprise. I think I'm going to just forego any spacers and just run these when summer comes. Well, that's about all I have for today's video. Thanks again for watching. And if you like this stuff, feel free to subscribe.